Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to Korean Atlanta Mentorship. You know what's crazy? How there was so much revolutionary information from years ago and people just did not listen. I mean, there's this article here from 2005 from the website richdad.com that goes over into why savers are losers, right? And we're still not listening, folks. This is why I'm kind of half joking about why I'm creating a cult, right? This is like a velocity banking cult. I'm just kidding, but I'm not. But here's the thing, right? What's the first rule of our velocity banking, aka Fight Club cult? No savings, right? Because they even knew back then in 2005 and probably even before, but this is the first time I heard this around that time, that saving money is essentially losing money. And this also applies to velocity banking, right? And so, first rule of Fight Club is no savings. And let me go ahead and make that really big. No savings. That's the first rule of this velocity banking, I guess, cult that I'm leading because I'm a cult leader by accident, or at least someone accused me of being a cult leader. But right, well, let's just review again because we gotta do a little bit of study every single time we talk about velocity banking. Now, in this example, again, this is like what I call the stress test, where you're making great income and you only have $355 in savings, right? Like if I made 10 grand a year and I only had $355 in savings, I'd actually be ashamed of myself because I'm like, why am I having savings? I gotta have zero savings. See, I got you there because you thought I was gonna say, why don't I have more savings, like 3 to 6 months of savings? But here's the thing: when we do velocity banking, what's the first rule of velocity banking? Oh my goodness, no savings, right? We're not gonna have any savings whatsoever, right? And let me go ahead and close these videos, taking up my RAM. And we also assume that we have the same income, okay? Same income. So what is velocity banking? Is this the first time you ever clicked on this video? Is this idea crazy to you about no savings, why savers are losers, like Rich Dad Robert Kiyosaki says, right? Well, all velocity banking is a strategy to pay off debts quickly using lines of credit as your main tool. So if you have a line of credit, like a home equity line of credit, personal line of credit, or maybe you're trying to pay off business debts with your business line of credit, this may be a viable strategy for you. Now, me personally, I have over $258,000 in lines of credit, but luckily you only need one main line of credit. Usually, and I'm not saying all the time, it could be a home equity line of credit. My main line of credit is a home equity line of credit. Now, you might be asking, what's a line of credit? All it is a financial tool where you could borrow money, pay it back, and use it over and over again. A credit card is a type of line of credit, right? But we prefer, or we like to use home equity lines of credit because we have lower interest rates. It's a lot more flexible. I can use it to pay anything. So, for example, if I have credit card one, can I use it to pay credit card two? No. Can I use it to pay the mortgage? No, unless I'm using a third-party service company like Plastique, right? So let's just assume that we got a line of credit. It's going to be our main operating account, and I'm going to show you how the magic of this works, right? So there's really two requirements to velocity banking. Number one is our budget, and we're in the middle of that right now. Our budget is our debt attack plan, right? The more debt we have, the more holes we have in our essentially cash flow bucket. And what we're trying to do is patch up all the debt, all the holes in our cash flow bucket. That's what's the point of the budget. So as you can see here, I have income. Let me go back here. Income, expenses, savings. If I were ever in this situation where I have debt and I have savings at the same time, I would be ashamed of myself, right? Because we're going to teach ourselves, we're going to brainwash ourselves that, hey, we are going to go with zero savings, okay? Now let's go ahead and do this. And I'm going to copy these expenses, okay? Now, the second thing we need is a line of credit as our main operating account. So because we are a homeowner, let's just assume that we have access to a $200,000 home equity line of credit. Home equity line of credit. Basically, you're using your home equity, which is the value of your home minus any debts, as collateral. And let's just assume we have $200,000 of it. Like it's like a credit card based on the value of your home. Okay. Now, What we're going to do is put our entire paycheck into the line of credit, expenses out. That's the velocity banking strategy. And we haven't put any debts in, but what we're going to do is decrease the balance of the line of credit with something called our cash flow, right? So right now, this number is the same as our savings. Okay, this number is the same as our savings. But let's just do this, okay? Why don't we transfer all of these 10 credit cards, okay, into that line of credit, and that's $167,000 because these are the balances here. That's the payments, these are the balances. Let's move $167,000 into that home equity line of credit, right? And guess what happens? This turns to zero, 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 zero. Oh my goodness, we're increasing this cash flow by so much. In fact, I just turned $355 into $5,700 without making more money, even though I have zero savings, right? Isn't that crazy? I have zero savings, yet I turned this $355 into a $5,700 jackhammer. That jackhammer, that's what it is. Okay? So let's go over the actual implementation of the strategy itself. This $10,000, I put it into the line of credit. Guess what happens? It satisfies the minimum monthly payment and it minimizes the interest because the interest is calculated by the average daily balance. And that's what happens when you put the full power of your paycheck. And then after every single month, the balance of this line of credit will go down by $5,700 plus the interest. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this. And then what we're going to do is take the previous month's balance plus the previous month's interest minus our cash flow, which is 5701.35, right? And you see that balance? Ooh, that went down a lot compared to this itty bitty $300 in savings, right? We're bringing this whole entire debt down. And people freak out about credit cards, but credit cards is the easiest problem to solve with velocity banking. The easiest. Those amortized loans, they get a little bit tricky. But let's go ahead and do this and take the average daily balance, multiply it by 0.1, 10%, and then divide by 12, right? Because that's how you get the interest calculated on a monthly basis. And if you don't know what I just did, just copy the formula, right? Just copy the formula, and then you copy and paste, right? So let's go ahead and do this, and then copy and paste here, and then we can see that in 34 months, oh my goodness, this debt is paid off. How much is 34 months? Is that 2 years? 3 years? Let me just do a quick calculation. 34 divided by 12. 2.83 years. 2.83 years. And we paid off $167,000 of debt of 10 credit cards. And it was so easy. Oh my goodness, mind blown. Mind blown, right? And now we just simply pay off the mortgage. We just simply pay off the mortgage. Now, what we can do is we can now, after we pay off all these credit cards, we're going to have $5,701.35 every month after savings. So this will be about next month, multiply it by 2, be a little bit more than $10,000. But my question is this: do most people ever put their entire savings into overpaying a loan? The answer is no. They're afraid to do that because what if you have an emergency? Can you call the loan company and say, "Oh my goodness, like, I overpaid by $5,000, but I had a flat tire. Can I get it back?" Right? And then when you go ahead and let's say you do that and you have to use these credit cards as backups, then the next month you're freaking out about, okay, do I overpay the loan? Do I pay with the credit card? How do I do the allocation? Whereas you could just make this really easy on yourself and just put your entire money into the line of credit, right? So let's say I put this entire savings into here and then also transfer some of it into line of credit and then just rinse and repeat and keep paying it off. So let's say that this 300,000 goes to 290, right? 290K. How long do you think it'll take off to pay off that 10K in that line of credit? So let's just go ahead and add this 10,000 here plus 10,000. Oh my goodness, it took us 2 months, right? And here's the crazy thing. Here's the crazy thing. Let's go to loan amortization calculator.net and then go in here. So this is going to go to 300,000. Let's go to 300,000, 30 years. And then let's take a look how long it takes us to go from 300,000 to 290 just from the amortization schedule, right? And take a look here. Most people don't know this. They get excited about, 3% or 6% interest loans because right now it's 7. If you got a 3% interest loan, take a look at this. You pay $150,000 in interest over that 30-year loan, right? And if I pay 6%, it's actually I think 116%, right? 100 you pay 347 for the right to borrow 300 over 30-year period. Now, some of you that might be okay with you, but not okay with me, so that's why I want to pay the sucker off early. Okay? But let's just take a look. How long did it go from 300 to 290? 300 to 290. Okay? So, let's go here. It took 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, 5 almost 5 years. Yeah, I did that in 2 months. 2 months. You saw that, right? Now, here's the cool thing. We actually have access to more sophisticated velocity banking calculators because the disadvantage of doing what I call, or what we would call the poor man's velocity banking method is that it does not take into account the monthly payment made, made here, right? Like when you do it this way, it's a little bit like if you calculate this way, the payoff is actually a little bit longer than when you calculate it more accurately. But what I'm trying to say here is that whatever you do, you got to pay off this loan quickly because this $300,000 loan is essentially a ticking time bomb, right? Because do you want to pay, $647,000 total for what you thought was a $300,000 home? No, you don't. But there's a reason why banks have the highest buildings or the tallest buildings in every downtown in the United States, right? They know how to make money out of thin air for doing nothing. People sometimes think, "Oh man, the banks want to foreclose on me." No, they don't. They'll do everything they can to not foreclose on you. If they have to foreclose, then that foreclosure is like a hot potato in their books. They got to get rid of it, right? They sell it at a discount than have a foreclosure or what they call an REO in their books, right? So this is a Korean Atlanta mentorship. Again, repeating the mantra of the cult, the velocity banking cult. I'm sorry, I had to be your cult leader, but you all forced me to. Savers are losers, right? There is no savings in our fight club, okay? I don't know if this is a fight club or a velocity banking club or a velocity banking cult, but in our world, absolutely no to savings. Zero savings. What do I need that for? Am I going to listen to Dave Ramsey? Absolutely not. All right. Well, have a great day, everybody. This is Korean Atlanta Mentorship, and we'll speak next time.